morning on Monday, the 13th of January 2025. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and therefore coffee time on West Coast Radio. With me, Peter Gomez. Thanks for joining us. First up in the press review is Gambia Daily. VP hails Diaspora contribution to national development. Gambia's diaspora remittance inflow for 2024 stands at $775.6 million, according to the CBG. Government commiserates with Kafuta accident victims. World Bank-backed Human Capital Development Project to invest $27.1 million in basic and secondary education. And health authorities launch plan to combat substandard and falsified medical products. The front cover of The Point reads, Government to build new central prison and relocate Mile 2. Gambia received over $64 billion of remittance in 2024. Gambian students brace for new immigration rules. UN Special Rapporteur says Gambia's transitional justice is slow, but its special court backing is historic. Substandard medicines pose challenge to the healthcare system. And good morning, Mr. President. The Points Monday editorial points to an alarming rate of road accidents and encourages area councils to go digital. Now, Foraya's front page. Groundnut season slows down amid reconciliation of purchases. Gambian diaspora remittances rise to $776 million. KMC and vendors at odds over roadside occupation. NAO challenges Health Ministry to ensure full utilization of mental health budget. Welcome Gambia awards outstanding journalists. And Sierra Leone confirms first Mpox case since global health alert. And interesting Fourier question of the day, what does the draft Constitution 2024 say about suing the president? Let's take a look at the front cover of The Voice now. Justice Minister says 2024 draft Constitution not government crafted. Stakeholders dialogue on diaspora jobs and development financing in 8th Stake in Nation Forum. Nafar, a new political force emerges in Gambia. Mane says PAP will prioritize job creation to stem irregular migration if elected. NCAC 2024, a year of cultural milestones and challenges with strong hopes for 2025. Prospects for Gambian manufacturing in 2025 look good. And rights group condemns encroachment on Fajara Golf Course. Finally, The Standard. Gambia and others to be tried. Jammeh and others to be tried in Gambia unless Diaspora remitted over $775 million in 2024. PAP leader says Gambia suffering from poor leadership. Mohurst declares year of human capital development. Amir Trawale preaches peace in New Year's message. And UN welcomes special court to prosecute crimes under Jammeh. And that was your first look at Monday's newspapers. Our thanks to Foraya, The Standard, The Voice, Gambia Daily, and The Point. My guest this morning is Nyang Njie, economist, blogger, social commentator, retired activist, is he? And we can find out. Nyang, welcome back.
Thank you,
Coffee
Peter.
Time, yeah.
Indeed, it's been a while.
You're no stranger. It's been a while indeed. Yeah, that bit about retiring from activism. Where do we stand on that today? I mean, I think it was first made a little over 2 years ago.
Well, some people are natural-born activists, and I consider myself an accidental activist in the sense that the necessity of time brought me into an environment that wasn't my space. Notwithstanding, I did all I could when I could, and it's just time to move on and just be myself and do what I do best.
So what have you been doing and doing best?
Well, I've been into private consulting, and we've been doing quite a lot, looking forward to a great 2025, and also enjoying my leisure time in a very quiet way.
Great 2025, is that because of the politics or what, given that next year we have elections?
Well, 2025, it's looking very, I won't say optimistic, somehow pessimistic in terms of the economy, not because of the global space, but because of the local environment. And there's going to be, I won't call it hiccups, but there'll be challenges because the fiscal space has grown considerably and the tax space hasn't grown that much. And it's not that we don't want to grow it, but you cannot overburden an already burdened tax environment. So the two, there's fiscal dominance in the space, and these two are not incongruent. One, trying to get more taxes out of the economy when the economic space is shrinking.
Wow. We'll talk more about that later on with Njie. He wants to concentrate more on the economics of it all, the economy, rather than the politics. Let's do the politics now, because there was a time when politics in this country was associated with only the middle-aged and senior citizens. You probably heard me make the point last week to the Nyang Njie MP when he was on the program. The participation of youth in politics appeared unwelcome in the 80s and 90s, with the exception of a few. However, in the past decade and a half, there has been a huge rise in the involvement of youth, students especially, in politics. Organized youth wings across party systems are indicative of an important demographic trying to satisfy political aspirations through political party involvement. On Sunday, the governing National People's Party formally opened the secretariat in Churchillstown of its budding students' wing, with a view to strengthening the connection between the party and its student membership. The Deputy Speaker, Seedy, who's a founder member of the NPP, addressed the young people gathered at the event. Rohi Samba reports.
The National People's Party Students' Wing, NPPSW, is a dynamic organization dedicated to promoting excellence and development in the academic and social lives of Gambian students. With its mission centered on preserving the dreams and rights of students, NPPSW strives to foster a sense of community, cooperation, and equity among its members. Guided by a comprehensive constitution, the organization seeks to empower students to participate actively in politics, governance, and societal development through meaningful decision-making and collaboration. Yusuf Tunkara, the national coordinator of the NPP Students' Wing, said their commitment to mobilization will involve comprehensive activities tailored to suit diverse demographics across various regions in the country.
The idea is to make sure that the NPP student wings reach across the length and breadth of the country, and the NPP student wing is an administrative body responsible to oversee all the tertiary institutions and then high schools within the country, and mobilize supporters and like-minded individuals within and across the country, those that share the same philosophy of that of the NPP and supported the President Barrow's agendas. That's basically what we're talking about. We intend to institutionalize this office by making sure that we have sub-sectors, groups in all the schools within Greater Banjul areas.
He added that they will also initiate community dialogues, information sessions, and voluntary training programs to prepare their members for the upcoming elections, ensuring they have a formidable presence on the ground.
We intend to push for more educative engagement. For example, we will, as we are setting up this movement or these committees in the various places, we also intend to engage them. We don't only intend to set them up and just go away. No, we intend to engage them as quarterly or monthly, or at least there should be some framework on how we engage with them, and we train them on how to be extract the best out of them, because we believe that every student, be it high school or uni, you have some sort of potentials. In fact, you have some hidden potentials.
Here is Honorable Seedy, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly.
They are giving, saying that the draft is to entrench President Barrow is false, it's fallacious, it's a deceit. There is no clause in the draft that will or have an intention or seemingly entrenching a president or perpetuating a dictatorial or self-aggrandizement rule. It's not there. And in fact, the 1997 Constitution was here since 1997. And we all believe that some of the clauses in that and other laws present as we speak perpetuated dictatorship on the Jammeh and perpetuated all the heinous crime on the Jammeh and perpetuated all the human rights violations. That's what we say.
Through initiatives such as public awareness campaigns, regional pitching contests, sport competition, and leadership training forums, NPPSW aims to nurture a new generation of leaders who value nationalism, patriotism, and the pursuit of excellence. As a key component of the National People's Party, NPPSW is tasked with implementing the party's agenda and development strategies, promoting students' participation in the national development process, and contributing to the overall growth and prosperity of the Gambia. By fostering an inclusive and supportive environment, the NPPSW aims to create a platform for students from diverse backgrounds to learn, grow, and achieve their dreams, while upholding the values of integrity, professionalism, and service to others. Reporting for West Coast Radio, I am Rahisam.
And Nyang Njie listened keenly as Rohi reported there, and at some point your face lit up, in great surprise, obviously, as Seedy Njie spoke there. I mean, have you ever heard him come after I call him his former idol, Jammeh, like he just did there?
Well, some philosophers were keen of saying politics is the second oldest profession apart from prostitution. But that notwithstanding, politics should be noble. Hearing Seedy Njie not only lambast, but really not put to test, but at least agree with overwhelming majority of Gambians then, pre-2016, that everything we were saying was true, yet still he defended it then. Now he is telling us that the 1997 Constitution brought dictatorial tendencies. And not only under Jammeh,
exactly,
and not only dictatorial tendencies, but being practiced. So he lacked the moral legitimacy, in my opinion, in my view, to occupy not only the political space, but such an office in a transformative Gambia that we yearn for. He has no business in the business of building a new Gambia.
Better late than never. At least he's finally agreed with the majority of Gambians. Nyang Njie is with us for the rest of the program. Now, the new executive of the Gambia Sickle Cell Association was formally inaugurated to advocate for and serve the needs of people with sickle cell and generate awareness about the disease and its trait. Abubakar M. Jallo reports.
The Sickle Cell Organization was chartered on October 13, 2007. In January 2008, the Article of Corporation and bylaws were amended to meet the requirements of Sickle Cell Association Banjul Charter de Gambia. Thus, the association's executive positions on Friday held a handing over ceremony at American Corner in Fajara. This marks a significant change as they welcome their 11 new executive members, and certificates of appreciation were presented to their 16 outgoing executive members as well as the new interims. The outgoing president of Sickle Cell Association de Gambia, Mr. Ali Badara, highlighted some of the achievements he made with his team during their tenure.
From 2008 to date, we have been able to achieve so much success, both nationally and internationally. And as I speak right now, we are serving as the Vice President for the Africa Umbrella Body, Umoja Sickle Cell Consortia, which is traded as OMASCO, and also members of the Rare Disease Community, members of Global Genes, Patients as Partners in Research, SADC, South Africa, and also part of the Global Action Network for Sickle Cell and other inherited blood disease, and also affiliates to the Sickle Cell Thalassemia Patient Network in US. Not too much, but we are proud.
stepping for Andrew Musa Dem, sickle cell warrior and a president for the new executive members, said that Mr. Andrew Sambo and Ms. Nyang have inspired them to strive for excellence and push the boundaries of what they can achieve for the association.
It is impossible to fully capture the depth of Andrew and Jammeh, Aliu, the team contribution, but we all know that the mark left of the association is invisible. We are all here today because of the seeds Andrew and Jammeh, Aliu and the team planted years ago. And those seeds have grown into a viable organization with incredible protein. While we look back in deep expectation for the everything that has been accomplished, also look forward and estimate as we move this next chapter.
Mr. Dem further applauded and thanked the outgoing executive for serving the organization and being the vision of guiding them through the challenges they have encountered.
Being this vision of guiding us through the challenge and the laying down of paths that will guide future generations. It is with great respect and humanity that has over the association. This is a rightful leader who will continue the work you began, keeping the flame you left alive and guiding us towards even greater accomplishment. Thank you, Andrew Samun Jammeh, for all vision, your leadership and your endorsing impact on all us. Let us all continue to carry forward your legacy with pride and purpose.
Reporting for West Coast Radio, I am Abubakar M. Jallo.
This is a question you probably were not prepared for. How much do you know about sickle cell?
Well, I have friends and I have families who suffer from this. Yes, extended family. And sometimes they have to go and be admitted in a hospital for a while to just get new transfusion. So it's not only debilitating, but it takes away the potential of an individual. And I do hope as a country we invest more, because just not because someone is bedridden all the time doesn't mean that they don't have a condition that needs special care.
And, these support groups, that form because of one condition or another, do you think they get enough support from the government? And if not, why? I mean, I can talk about the GFD, Gambia Federation of the Disabled, as a person with disability myself. I mean, we hardly get noticed. I mean,
yes. The why is the government don't bring in champions in the policy making decisions and matrices where policies are formulated. For instance, show me a physically challenged person, be it deaf, blind, or whatever, being mainstreamed into government at high levels. Well, we need champions.
They call us disabled. We are not able.
It's physically challenged. And, we need these people in high places so that they can be champions. Because what I don't feel, I cannot understand, but I may sympathize. But someone who feels will appreciate better. And it's the responsibility of state to mainstream these people in all our endeavors in building a country.
Nyang Njie is our guest this morning, and my conversation with him continues after another break, to remind you that Coffee Time on West Coast Radio. It's the only way we make money here on West Coast Radio, through advertising. So if you have a business, please advertise with us to ensure we continue producing the program on radio and also on YouTube. Nyang Njie is with us for the next half hour. Nyang, there's a number that is being, bandied around this morning on, all the newspaper front pages. $775.6 million. Some are saying 776, rounding it up to, the next whole number, $776 million. That's the amount of money Gambians in the diaspora sent to this country in 2024. Could we have used, the money in a much better way, that, it impacts our society more?
Well, I think that's a private arrangement but the government could have created an environment where these remittances will go into public investments. And the way that can happen is for government to create instruments, is for government to create avenues. And if you look at Senegal now, they're about to create a digital bank, and this digital bank is to mobilize diaspora resources for public infrastructure projects, and they will make a dividend, but at the same time, the country will benefit. But if you look at the case of the Gambia, diaspora funds coming in, the inflows predominantly goes towards sustenance of family and construction. But now that's on the private side of consumption. We can change and make sure on government spending, we complement as a diaspora into the efforts of rebuilding our nation.
And how, is that done and done effectively?
Well,
by creating a bank, as Senegal is seeking to do, or what?
Not only a bank, but investment avenues. Investment avenues can be a diaspora bond, for example. And of recent, I've heard of the central bank going to the diaspora, especially the US. But I think sometimes we do things the wrong way. Yes, the government should be the underwriter of such instruments, but they should always get a private entity to come up with a prospectus. The prospectus will be what the diaspora will look into. Then they will see the investment vehicles and avenues available in this prospectus and what are the potential returns. Then this private company will now underwrite such instruments on behalf of, and the proceeds will go into the government through this private entity. And they become the guarantee, because government is not fully trusted. So no one wants to just take their hard-earned currency and just give it to government directly. But if there is an intermediary, it will change, and that will make the perception better.
You said the government was in the US meeting the diaspora. The diaspora has been there for a very long time, sending money to the Gambia all along. Why did it take the government so long to recognize that they could actually, tap into these huge resources that the diaspora have to fund some of their infrastructure undertakings?
Well, unfortunately, we have a government of advisors. This government has more advisors than any other government to date, not only in Gambia, but at least if you look at a Bissau or a Senegal. But now, this current government happens to have diaspora advisors or whatever. But we need to accept and agree on one thing. A lot of people are not cut out for the assignments they're given, either because of incompetence or they lack the skill set and the toolkit for that particular assignment given. And I'm not only stopping at the diaspora advisor, but generally all the advisors that this current president happens to have close to him. On his politics, he can choose whoever he wants. That's not my business. But in the development of this country, he needs advisors that are suited for the assignments he gives them.
We have to talk about the budget. There's been a lot of noise about the budget. First, it's a very huge budget. 59 billion is a lot of money. What do you think about the budget before we, go into the nitty-gritty of it?
There's three problems with the budget. One is just respecting the constitutional requirement of presenting a budget. See, we have laws, and the laws must be respected because it's the law of the land. There is a time frame set to put forth a document to the parliament, and that has been reneged upon, and that in itself is an infraction. Now, if you look at the budget, it has grown significantly, and the reason it has grown, it's not unfortunate only, but I think it's misguided. 2017, we had a moratorium or a relax in terms of paying external debt. Now, instead of taking these funds, investing it and making a return on them for the time that when we start paying external debt again, we won't be too burdened. but instead we used it to grow government spending, particularly in infrastructure. Now, late 2024 into 2025, we're now beginning to pay our Paris Club debt, London Club debt, and all other external debt that we have. That becomes a new burden to the country, including the contracts that we have for this public infrastructure that we have been embarked on all these years. So that has grown the government expenditure space. And do we have the revenue base? The answer is no. Are we milking a dead horse? Close to. How much can we continue to do that? And I just want the government to do one exercise. Go to the registrar of companies. See how many old companies are re-registering in the beginning of the year. That can tell you whether you're growing the economy or you're shrinking the economic space. As far as I see it, the economic space is shrinking. And for government, they need to know that the formal sector that we have been building all over these years are now moving back to the informal sector, because tax avoidance is not illegal. Tax evasion is illegal. But if you're creating bottle holes, impediments, people will go below the radar, and then the informal sector starts growing again instead of the formal sector.
Well, if just to minimize the tax we pay year in, year out, maybe we should downgrade from being a corporate institution company to, sole proprietorship. You pay less.
Yes, and precisely this is the point. And that's what I want the tax authorities to understand. And also, I think we really need to revisit GRA. When I say we need
Why? GRA is doing well.
No.
It's not doing well?
It's not about doing well. There's what you call tax collection efficiency. How much of every $1 we collect in taxes goes towards administering taxes? Number one. Number two, I feel GRA as an organization should be a very streamlined apex organization on the top that is going to manage two separate entities, custom and excise, inland revenue, which we call whatever in the Gambia. Inland revenue means internal taxes.
Income tax.
Income taxes. Yeah. So once we do these two things, we have institutions already, customs here, income tax here, and this apex body will be managing these two things. But for me, it's a bit conflicting when these two organizations have people embedded in them who are up there in the policy-making apex of what GRA should be. And this is not being malicious, but I think it has, organizations over time, they evolve. And once they evolve, we need to make sure they suit the place we live in. And going to the ports, trying to get a container out, we all know how things are in this country. So are we making the most of what we should as a country in terms of tax receipts or not? If the answer is no, then we don't have a problem. If the answer is yes, we need a revisit.
Just expand on that, going to the port and trying to get out a container thing.
Well, we know that the process is highly transactional in nature. Transactional meaning I just don't go to a bank, pay. I don't have to deal with A, B, and C individuals. That's not the case. I have to intermediate. And that intermediation comes at a price. And that price comes and add up once an importer brings product into this country. Corruption is not free. Someone always pays for the fat that an importer takes out and gives to anybody, be it at the port, be it at the GRA, be it at the hospital. And this is what we need to streamline. And streamlining these things is we try and have a process-driven environment rather than a discretionary environment where human interactions take part or make part of the decision making.
Well, and since you mentioned the port, what do you think of the port concession agreement with Al Bayrak, or let's just say a Turkish company?
We all know that in the last regime, Dubai Ports Wall came to the Gambia, and we had a very good opportunity to deal with Dubai Ports, and Dubai Ports would have been an ideal partner. Now we are partnering with someone. Do they have the capacity financially? Do they? I don't know. I'm just being honest.
Well, apparently it's a yes. I mean, the port authorities try to persuade us that, this is the best offer,
yes,
on the table.
Yes, it depends on global benchmarks. Where does this company rank in the global scheme of things in moving and hauling containers around the world? I am of the view that if Gambia is not careful, the comparative and the little competitive advantage we got left vis-a-vis Senegal is going to just fizzle away. In Casamance, there's a deep sea port coming. In Dayan, there's a deep sea port coming. There is one in Funjun. So basically, if you look at the Mali trade, Gambia is out of competition because Senegal has given Mali options and also a dry port for that matter, making it easy for them to store their containers rather than paying for all of it to go to Mali at the same time. So with our port expansion, we not only needed a partner that's strategic, but a partner that can combat the economic gains that Senegal has made over Gambia over the years. But interests are different and divergent, so they know best because I'm not in that boardroom making decisions for the port.
Yeah, but you make it, sound like it's futile, going ahead with this arrangement.
I'm not saying it's futile, but Gambia need a big bang for the little that we have. We should stretch it. And when we want to stretch it, we should look for companies at the global scheme who can really impact, make a difference, and also redirect container traffic into the Gambia. And we know companies who are big enough globally. I think also it has to do with ambition as a country. If you look at our petroleum exploration endeavors over the years, we dealt quite a lot with cowboys rather than, yes, the BPs came in late, but if you look at Senegal and you look at, the types of companies that came, it's a bit different. So all I'm just saying is the ambition of our country in terms of international investment should be bigger than a lot of briefcase businesses that come our way.
Break down the cowboy expression for us.
Well, there's what you call tropical gangsters, and tropical gangsters are briefcase business people who are global, out there. They know the types of countries they hit. They know the type of countries they visit. They know the type of countries they want to partner because they're willing to be strange bedfellows. And it's us, the Gambia, who should smell a rat when we see these types of businesses and say, this is not what we want for our country. But we need dedicated people who will do that.
We don't sell much, if anything more than groundnuts. And the groundnut trade season, seems to be running into trouble, already, because never in the history of, a trade season in this country did the season have to be suspended after a few weeks because there has to be, reconciliation of purchases. I think there's more to the headline that meets the eye. What do you think of, the groundnut sector and the way it's evolved, especially in recent years? Because you hear politicians saying we are producing less and less groundnuts every year.
Peter, naturally, I'm a disruptor. When I say I'm a disruptor, and also I am an iconoclast, I don't go with mainstream. The Americans are fond of saying peanuts is peanuts. Now, it's a shame that the world over it's starting to take a craze with medicinal marijuana. This is not to be used in country. Not an ounce of it will be used in country. But we have the environment whereby if a farmer can grow 10 kilos of high-grade medicinal marijuana, each kilo he can export it for a minimum of $3,500. So now, if we really want to take our farmers out of poverty, and yes, you are right, the tonnage has been going down year in, year out, because the sons of yesterday's farmers don't want to be today's farmers because they've seen how farming has impoverished their parents. Now we need a government that is not only, this has nothing to do with being liberal. It has everything to do with just being smart. Start greenhouse farming purposely for medicinal marijuana under high controlled supervision, whereby they grow, seal, export, and now a farmer can take his or her child to a university of his or her choice.
We will have to change the constitution then.
It doesn't matter. We need a will.
To legalize Jamba.
No. See, here's a difference. Jamba, as you and I know it, is what people smoke. Medicinal marijuana is you grow, cut the flowers, put them in the right environment, sell them to pharmaceuticals to make medicines out of. And this...
So up to that point, it's not Jamba per se.
No, and what you see, they're afraid of three things, and all of these three can be mitigated. When we grow it in the country, people are going to have access to it. But now I'm taking them back to Economics 101. If local Jamba is selling for $40,000 a kilo, and a farmer can make $3,500 a kilo on their produce, do you think they want to sell it locally? Someone offering $3,500 a kilo, and the most you can make in Gambia is $40,000. Will you sell your high grade in the Gambia? No. So I think it's more of tradition and being conservative. And the sad thing is, countries like Gambia always wait until everybody gets into this, and we want to get into it. And we could have had a first mover advantage because of the proximity of our country to Western Europe. We can package stuff here today, it's in Europe the same day, and the farmers get paid handsomely. So back to peanuts, we need to really look at our primary cash crop. Has our primary cash crop done well since the 70s? The answer is no. Why? Commercial arrangements between the SECOs, GGC, and the farmers. And now we're seeing what's happening in Senegal. Our farmers tend to cross the border. One, they're getting hard currency. Two, sometimes...
The authorities would vehemently deny that.
But we have porous borders. Let's be honest with each other.
They would argue that, I mean, since we are offering a higher price than Senegal, no man in their rights, and you just said that if somebody is sending, is to get $40,000 for their tonnage, do you think they would sell for $40,000 locally? So Gambia cannot be offering, according to the argument of the authorities, a higher purchase price, and farmers still go and sell in Senegal.
It's not the purchase price alone in this instant. It's the nature of the transaction. When will I get my money? How?
True.
So because of
which has posed a bigger problem this year than previous years.
The porousness of our borders makes people, especially the frontier and farmers, people who live on the borders, to just cross, sell, and take care of their business. So my take is, we need a national dialogue on three things: economic development of this country, how to grow the productive sectors, fisheries and agriculture. There should be a fisheries school in the Gambia. When I say school, I'm not talking about something like GTTI. It's not about the alphabet ABC, but hands-on experience. Why do we need this? We have an unemployment crisis, and the only two ways to solve our unemployment crisis outside of tourism is agriculture and fisheries. Today, the Radville farms. Mm-hmm. If Radville farms can make 2.53 million pounds a year in Gambia exporting stuff, we can replicate many Radville farms and organize Gambian youths with farm managers from Kenya, wherever, to manage them, and their produce will be sold outside, and the government can invest in them, and at some point these entities will repay the investment. And that's the way we can change the lives and livelihood of the Gambian youth. But mind you, Peter, we have a problem. The problem is the Gambian youth is very difficult to help because they don't even know what they want collectively. I'm sorry, and it's not an indictment on all Gambian youths, but our focus on where we need to take this country is somehow compromised by selfish, self-centered needs of a few who look at the overwhelming majority of Gambian youths as a flock, and they become the shepherd, and they're ushering them into the wilderness where it won't lead them to anything better.
Let me ask you then, because you were listening to our opening report on the NPP, setting up a youth wing. And of course, that was where Seedy made those extraordinary remarks against his one-time idol, Jammeh. I mean, the youths who have embraced, this idea of student wings of political parties, starting with the NPP. I mean, is that the right direction for the young people of this country, especially the students?
I love history, and when I go back to history, I love going back. We remember Buba Balde, we remember Mai Fati. These were student leaders, Alpha Robinson. And now there's an exploitation of student leaders by political parties, and not only NPP. We have to be fair. This is a national problem. But the saddest part is you have an overwhelming majority of people pushing their power for one or two people, and these people will now go to the executive. I have power behind me, and now they are rewarded, and that reward is personal to them, not the hurt that's behind them. And we've seen this over and over and
so
over
the
in
youths
the Gambia.
are, if you like, a pawn in a game.
Exactly. And the reason why it's not changing is the exploitive nature of Gambian politics. Same as the Yai Compins. The Yai Compins are seen as influential people. They're given the bread and butter, but will it filter down to the neighborhoods? No. But them and their families and their close ranks enjoy. So politics in Gambia for the longest have been highly exploitative. And if we want to change it, we need leaders who are conscientious. But for them to be conscientious, they need to have three guiding principles. One is of religion and spirituality. The second one is of a high moral code. And thirdly, they must have a little bit of conscience. Because
this is interesting. How could religion and spirituality, help change our declining fortunes for us?
Well, a human being, we're all animals unless and until we rise above a certain thing. And spirituality and religion tends to tame and guide you. When I say spirituality and religion, I'm not talking about just the physical exercise of bowing, praying.
The cosmetics of it.
It's the inner soul of the human being to believe in what they do. Morally, no one should guide you but your moral compass. And thirdly, your conscience is the inner being of who you are. And this is what's lacking. And many of us walking the streets were empty carcasses because we have no sentiments or feelings about the wrongs that we're doing, and we know it, and we stand. Look at Seedy. You can stand comfortably and say certain things. You can ride in a beautiful Pajero on the state's expense, knowing who you are and how detrimental you have been to the greater good of society, and you feel no less bad about it. And that is a judgment that you should have for yourself.
He's a convert now.
There's nothing like a convert.
Even though he did promise that, Barrow would only be sworn into office over his dead body.
They're not converts. They're called convenient apologists. A convert is someone who has seen the light and got out of the dark. A convenient apologist is someone who has seen an opportunity and want to go after that opportunity again and reshape and remold themselves to suit that opportunity. And this is the problem of Gambian politics, and this is the problem that most young people who are influential are using against the flock that's behind them. So they're not shepherding the young people to where they should take them.
We should be rounding up now. And let me just announce here that tomorrow I should be having in the studio the Gambia Immigration Department to deal with the letter we had from America about the waiting times for passport renewals. We will also be talking to a delegation from Wisconsin trying to do some, I suppose, entrepreneurship link-ups here in the Gambia. Just going back to the budget again, the government describes it as a near balanced budget. Why do you think they are describing it this way?
A balanced budget is where revenues equals to expenditure, or expenditure equals to revenue. That is economics 101. So a near balanced budget, bless their hearts. But I know for a fact that if I use historical, empirical information, the government of the Gambia has presented budgets all over the years since 2017, and for all the time, we go for supplementary appropriations. So our budget hasn't been just an estimate, but it has been a figure that moves as time goes on, even within the budget execution cycle.
Okay. On a final note, economically speaking, what do you expect 2025 to be for the average Gambian?
Well, for the Gambian economy to prosper, production needs to go up. Inflows needs to, when I say inflows, tourism receipts need to go up, and that will put a little bit pressure. It will at least dampen the pressure on the dalasi. And that is the first thing we need to fight on, to make sure that we not only have a stable dalasi, but we have a dalasi that can help reduce our import bill. Then the next step is, are Gambians in a position to pay for goods and service based on the environment they're living in? Well, I haven't seen any economic visibility or light at the end of the tunnel. And I do hope we need to have an economic revisit. And the revisit is not about GDP numbers. It's not about economic statistics. Professor Adesina of the African Development Bank said, we don't eat GDP. So don't use those as, oh, we're doing good. The depreciation of the dalasi is slowing. GDP is this. Inflation is this.
The usual matrices.
Look at the bread and butter potential of an average parent putting food on the table. And that is when an economy happens to have a human face. And we need a human face behind the Gambian economy.
Nyang Njie, thank you very much for coming, and Happy New Year again.
Thank you, Peter. Cheers.
Nyang Njie, economist, blogger, and of course, commentator, bringing us to the end of today's edition of Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. Join us tomorrow with some of the guests we have already announced. Up next is Alsama.